monkey.
Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
Is that a monkey?
Where are the gorillas?
Nice monkey suit.
With the help of this chimp, we may have a championship season.
Monkey!
It's like I'm talking to a monkey.
No one wants to be turned into a monkey.
Apes together.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinemonkey, a monkey movie podcast. We talk all things monkeys in media, sapiens in cinema. And this week, we're really stretching. We're really stretching.
There is a monkey.
Monkey-adjacent film. Does hinge on it. But, we watched King of Kong, Fistful of Quarters. And my guest this week is welcoming back Matt Connolly back to the show.
How's it going, guys? Great to be back here. Great to be talking monkeys again with Monkey Michael. I think that's the first time someone's called him that on the show, but it won't be.
You're the first person to call me that. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to get a name badge. I asked you to join me on this adventure that rabbit hole I've just learned about and went down, simply because, in a way, you have background in reffing video game competitions in some capacity.
I hadn't made that connection. But yes, technically I am a stat confirmer for DraftKings. I watched simulations of Madden where it wasn't a player versus a player like it is in this documentary, because that would be interesting. No, it was the computer playing against itself, and people would bet on that, and that is my unfortunate job to make sure that those I'll say the word addicts to make sure those addicts get their money.
Yeah.
I would
say this is without this movie, without this scene that we delve into in this movie, you wouldn't have a job today. And you could thank Twin Galaxies.
That is the only thing I will ever thank Bill Mitchell for. Thank you for my job.
Okay, so in case you don't know, because why would you have watched this documentary? But King of Kong, Fistful of Quarters, is a documentary that stars Billy Mitchell, Steve Wiebe, Walter Day, Brian Kerr, Todd Rogers, and my personal favorite, Doris Seth. And it's directed by Seth Gordon, who went on to direct such films as Horrible Bosses and, I believe, Identity Thief. So this was his first major thing. He directed 4 Christmases, Horrible Bosses, Identity Thief, the Baywatch reboot, and he's kind of gone back to TV and documentaries after that. But let's talk about what happens in this documentary. So we're introduced out the gate to the world of competitive. This is gonna be a little different format because it's a documentary and the plot's a little wonky all over the place. So there's not a strict plot to follow. We just follow a couple of guys, and let me tell you, they're the coolest dudes you've ever seen. They all rock.
and they know they rock, which is probably the best part of this whole documentary, is that you would think that people within the circle would have a level of self-awareness to them, which I do think that Steve has to some point. Everyone else is living in their own world, and I am so happy to be.
Everyone in this film, like you're saying, they think they're the main character of the universe. Except maybe Steve. So anyway, there's these two guys, right? So we have Billy Mitchell. We're introduced to Billy Mitchell at the gate, and Billy Mitchell is a self-proclaimed video game prodigy. He held the highest score on Pac-Man and Donkey Kong for the longest time. And this movie sets up a rivalry between him and up-and-coming newcomer, 35-year-old Steve Wiebe.
Who does have a family.
Billy has 3 children, I've looked up.
Oh.
Who would have thought? Huh. But Steve, he's a family man. He's a high school science or math teacher. I'm not entirely sure. He's a bit of a, he's just if we're doing this in terms of video games, and you said select a player and it's the most generic options possible, that's Steve. And I love him for it.
Steve, I'm a little offended for Steve that you didn't remember that he was a science teacher, because he had that great presentation where he held up 2 jars and he said, dirt, sand. There was no follow-up there. and then they cut right to one of his students, and they're like, yeah, I mean, he's okay. He jokes around with us. And then the director tells the kids about Steve's eventual world record in Donkey Kong, spoiler alert, and the girl scoffs and she goes, our science teachers are so weird here.
I mean, what I do love about also just like all these people that we meet along the way is that like they are 100% authentically them. There's no acting going on here with anybody. These are real people. I have met some of these people before. Not the real people, but like people like them. But like I know what this world is. I worked events at Anime Expo and Comic-Con and things like that. I've met these folks, and they are like this. They are, they want to be something extraordinary. And what I also love about this is that like this movie treats this so the general plot of this movie is that these two guys are going head to head to have the high score on Donkey Kong. It is treated with such, like, to both these men, it's so important to them that they have this score. And they train for it and they work for it. But at the end of the day, and you zoom out and you're looking from a lens, none of this matters. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter really within the world of video games.
They play fast and loose with the rules.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, yeah. But let's talk a little bit about Billy. We were making fun of Steve a little bit, but I love Steve. He's just a nice guy. Oh, and something I just want to mention. I cracked up when they interviewed Steve's mom, and she was like, yeah, he's almost certainly autistic. Like, what can we do? Yeah. I was like, I mean, if you get really obsessed about something, yeah, I guess he is.
I think the beautiful thing about this documentary is that it actually has an undertone of like child psychology to this, where you get one pair of parents who are supportive no matter what. Billy's parents, the first thing they say is, he's a winner. He's a winner. We cut to Steve's parents calling him autistic and saying,
yeah,
and his wife saying he always comes up short. I think it's just a great dynamic of someone who has built an ego up for himself through the support of others. I am obviously Team Steve here, but there's something to say about the confidence that Billy has because of the people around him.
Billy Mitchell, I forgot his name for a second, but how could you? How would you describe Billy Mitchell? What is his look? How do you paint this man?
I had this thought when I was watching the movie. Imagine if Jason Momoa's character from Minecraft was stuck on a desert island for about a month without anything to eat. And then he came back.
Slim.
Exactly. He's just
Slim Jason Momoa.
He's just Slim Jason Momoa without the... Never mind, not without the...
That's the guy. Yeah.
That's the guy.
He's got this... I don't know how he does it. It's got to be... He's had work done in some capacity. His hair, glorious. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene in the movie where you watch him like getting ready.
The slick
and
back.
You see him like combing it.
He slicks it back.
Yeah, the slick back. Yeah. In the world of competitive retro video gaming, you have these two guys, and the scores are run by this guy named Walter Day. Walter, glorious man. He is the ref to all video games. He runs a website and probably an arcade of some sort. It seemed they didn't seem to go inside it, but called Twin Galaxies. And Twin Galaxies since the 80s has been the number one spot of recording these high scores, and he takes his job very seriously.
And I just want to point out that one of the first lines that he has in this movie was one of the reasons that he had for committing his life to this was, I don't think I have the exact quote, but he said something along the lines of, "Girls really like to watch him play Centipede." And I just know that's not true.
I do love that. Were you there? Were you there in the 80s?
I wasn't.
No.
I wasn't.
Did you set up the Life magazine photo with all of the children who had the highest scores?
The other thing was, and good on him for really consolidating the competitive video game landscape here, but he's bragging about how he got people from all over the United States, maybe even North America, to bring them to Ottumwa, Iowa.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, they do. It's all run out of Iowa. Video game capital of the world, as everyone knows. Yeah, no. No, that'd be a trip. That'd be I mean, if we were going through all of the locations in this film, we got no big cities. I mean, like, you have Steve. Steve lives in a suburb of Redmond, Washington is where he lives. Walter is in Iowa, and then the big mecca. I love this part. So there's a mecca of video games, which isn't Twin Galaxies, which you would think would be the place if they're the ones keeping all the scores. No, it's Fun Spot, and Fun Spot is just a little arcade mini golf go-karting place off the side of a highway somewhere in Iowa.
One thing that is hilarious to me too is that Billy Mitchell, I don't know if he grew up there, but for the second half of the movie, he's based out of Hollywood, Florida.
Florida. You know what? I had that exact joke written down.
It just fits his character so perfectly. The fact that he's just like,
it's like, oh yeah, he's
this level of confidence that
he's Hollywood.
Exactly.
I didn't mean to get you excited or anything. Billy, he's had the record since he's been a wee lad, 16 or 17 years old. He initially was brought out to Iowa by Walter and a group of kids we kind of mentioned before were brought out because they claimed to have the high scores in each of these retro video games. And he meets this guy who claims he has the high score. I forgot his name. What is his buddy?
God, I forget his partner.
Steve Saunders. Different Steve. So Steve Saunders, he claims to have the highest score. Turns out he's a big fat liar, and he lied as a teenager to get to this photo shoot because Billy crushes him and gets the highest score ever. Yes.
What a time to be alive in the 1980s, where you could just lie to a magazine and get flown out somewhere for a competition. No need for a second opinion, no need for proof, just this is the
no one was
score I
checking.
got. No. It's a tweet. You could have just tweeted it.
The 80s were a different time. We're like, why would anyone lie about their Donkey Kong score? Which we'll get to. So Steve's a liar, but then Steve has a change of heart because Billy shows him the way. Billy whips him in Donkey Kong, gets a score of 840-something thousand. And he says, you know what? I get it. I concede. I was a liar. I didn't actually score the high score. You are the reigning champion. And they continue on forward with their friendship from there. Yes.
And Steve mentions that this changed the trajectory of his life. He mentions, and I think this might be a quote, that he is the man today, basically because Billy held him down and made him say uncle. Like, he made him admit to lying, which, again, we'll get to. So ironic.
We kind of follow Billy a little bit more, and you kind of see him as they initially paint him as a decent fella. Maybe he's a little arrogant because he runs a hot sauce business in Hollywood, Florida, with his parents, as you mentioned, and his parents. Maybe two of my favorite characters. There's so many amazing people in this film, but two of my favorite characters. One looks like the dad looks like an Italian mobster.
Yes.
Who he's wearing sunglasses. He's got a cane. He's just old. And the mom is just he was always a winner. Like you said.
As they're in, like, they keep cutting back, like the character Brian Murr.
Oh, Brian Kerr, yeah.
Brian Kerr got interviewed. It looks like about 38 times for this film, where he's in a different outfit the entire time. They cut back to Billy's parents maybe 10 times. They haven't moved. It's like they interviewed him for 10 minutes. They're in the messiest office possible. Like you said, the dad looks like a mobster. He's got the hat on. He's got the cane.
Well, listen, they run a hot sauce business in Hollywood, Florida in 2007 or 6. How successful was that back then?
I think that's before the big hot sauce boom.
Well, and he runs some sort of like chicken restaurant as well. Because later in the movie, all of the big gamers go to eat at his chicken restaurant.
One of the things that both his wife and his parents say are, some days he just won't show up.
And then what's Billy doing? Something. He's up to something. Something. Allegedly. Got to be careful. Anyway, and we'll get into that later. So we then meet Steve Weeb, not Weeb, Weeby, which they call him. They call him Weeb a lot throughout this movie. And he's like, it's not Weeb, it's Weeby. And we're introduced to him and his family. And Steve is like this mathematical, but he is mathematical whiz with Donkey Kong, where he was just like, yeah, one day I just went on the computer and was like, let me look up who's got the highest Donkey Kong score. And he was like, I beat that. And he set his mind to it. And his wife is a little annoyed by it. He's always in the garage playing Donkey Kong. His kids also hate it. When we first meet Steve, he's kind of breaking down how Donkey Kong works, and it's like it's all pattern recognition, but it's also one of the hardest games to play and to get high scores on and to make it to like the game breaking screen, because it is so random as well. There's like a random element where, unlike Pac-Man or Galaga or these other, Centipede, that gets all the ladies, Donkey Kong never got the ladies. Donkey Kong was strict randomness. You couldn't predict what's going on. But Steve kind of cracks the code, and I find it fascinating when he's like training to do his first video, and you see him like drawing on the screen to like kind of like time out the jumps and time out the, okay, you could control the barrels if you run in a certain direction, and like I was like, oh, so like there is tips and tricks to this, which is fascinating because this kind of has become a whole subculture online. This is probably the first media example of video game speedrunning communities and video game like mastering, like Twitch even. So he attempts his first world record run. And he's got a little dinky camera kind of hooked up to the side of his Donkey Kong arcade cabinet. Keep in mind, they're not playing these on like Nintendos or Super Nintendos or computers. They're playing them on the physical game cabinets themselves, which is very important to stuff we'll talk about after the documentary. So they're physically playing them on the arcade cabinets themselves, because that is how you can get these high scores from this one particular website. So he's recording it, and throughout the recording, it usually takes about 2.5 to 3 hours to beat Donkey Kong. And you have to do it in one sitting, because otherwise you're crazy. And you'll die. and you can't pause, and you have to do it in one go. And midway through his run, he was like, it was so embarrassing. His 6-year-old son starts screaming at him, saying, "Stop playing Donkey Kong!" And he's like, "I'm in the middle of something. I really need to finish this, Derek, buddy." And he's like, "I need you to wipe me." And he's like, "Bring the toilet paper down." I'll do it from here.
When he first said that, I thought that he was gonna wipe his son while getting the world record, and I was like, this was already impressive. But if he can do a scoop at the same time, one-handed, I would have a statue of Steve in my house right now. Kind of not an active member of like the speed running community, but it's something that I love to kind of keep up on and watch. I love watching videos on YouTube. Shout out Summoning Salt. If I was in the middle of a world record run for anything and I had someone screaming at me to turn it off, I would put that kid underneath the actual, like, I would put him in the arcade game. That way I know where he is and he can't bother me.
Well, I think the son has a pretty fun arc throughout the movie because the son kind of comes around on it, I would say, over time. Because towards the end of the movie when he's, like, practicing, like, the son is, like, sitting with him playing his Game Boy and is like, oh, I get this now.
His daughter is not shown nearly as much as the son. And I think a lot of the content from the son comes from the fact that when Steve was doing the world record, his son was asking him to wipe him. But later in the documentary, while Steve is on the way to try and beat a record to get into the Guinness Book of World Records, his daughter says to him, "You know, some people ruin their lives to be in there." She's maybe 9. And that's the other thing that scared me off from kids, whereas I don't need to hear the truth. Let me live in my fantasy world where the most important thing in my life is Donkey Kong. I don't need to hear that I'm ruining my life. And I think what makes Steve such a great character in this documentary is the fact that it's a redemption story. Because from the way that his parents talk, from the way that his wife talks, it just sounds like he had a lot of high expectations to meet when he was a kid. You know, his dad wanted him to be an engineer at Boeing. You know, he was supposed to be this great baseball player, and he couldn't pitch in the state finals because he threw out his shoulder or something. And his dad immediately jumps on that and says, like, that was me. You know, I overpitched him, which is kind of a running theme of people trying to protect Steve and his fragile mindset. At least that's how they kind of portray it. It just seems like he's very hard on himself, and he was never, and this is literally their words, he was never able to meet the expectations set by either himself or other people. And that just makes him so relatable.
Yeah, no, you really feel for Steve throughout this movie because, like you're saying, and I didn't even realize it, but everyone, even like his wife, is down on him a lot of the time. Like, she's supportive, but is also like, "This is dumb. Why are you doing this?"
Yeah. Well, I wonder where the correlation between that is. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, Steve got fired. I don't know. I think it might have been from Boeing, but he got fired the day that they signed the papers on their new house. I'm pretty sure that is also the day that he Googled the Donkey Kong record, which I can get why his wife would be like, okay, priorities, Steve. I'm starting to kind of picture where the daughter may have gotten some people ruin their lives trying to get in this book. That seemed a little out of her realm of expertise. Maybe she got that from the mom.
I think the mom's a bit of a realist in this film. She's another person that, like, again, she's supportive and she's, like, happy sometimes that he's doing stuff, but she's also like, you need to take care of your children, please. So Steve sends in this tape of his son telling him he needs a wipe. But he gets the high score. He beats Billy's initial high score. And the people over at Twin Galaxies were kind of introduced to more of the underlings of Walter. Walter is a sweet, nice old man. He's just doing it to appease his underlings that also work for him, because he's just like, I don't care about this anymore, but I'll just do it because for the love of the game, I just want to do some yoga and sing some songs. He also wears a ref shirt everywhere he goes. Under him, there's another gentleman.
Really quick, we have to mention that, like you said, Walter dresses up in the whole ref outfit, and he's come up with hand signals for different illegal things during video game competitions, which I can guarantee 90% of them have never been used during a video game competition. He has one for like legal cheat code. Who uses a cheat code at a live video game competition? The only
You don't
one
know
I can
that.
picture actually being used. Yeah, he had one for profanity, which I would love to know what the penalty for that is, other than him going like, which is his, he puts his hand over his mouth as a signal to everyone that the person swore. I don't know, it's a great little compilation of him doing all the hand gestures.
And that aired on G4 TV. Rest in peace, G4. You don't know what G4 was, because why would you? G4 was a cable channel where you could watch people talk about like nerdy things like video games and things like that. So Walter seems to have made a small impression on G4 on occasion, because he was your go-to guy. I mean, he's a charismatic fella. He's got a charm to him. But let me tell you someone who doesn't have
meditation
charisma. Let me tell you about Robert Murchek. Now, Robert is the second in command at Twin Galaxies.
Right.
And Robert's job is to watch everyone's videotapes. And Robert is, how do I put this? He is your textbook pocket protector nerd in a 80s comedy.
It's just exactly how you would picture like a stereotype of a nerd. Little balding on top, a little long in the hair, big round
and
glasses.
he dedicates his free time, because he does this for free, to watch world record runs, which are hours long videotapes that are sent in. Hours long. And he showed just how many. Hundreds. UPS boxes full to the brim of these tapes. And I'm like, jeez. And so he watches them to make sure that like everything is up to Walter's code as he has made it. No illegal swearing, no illegal cheat codes. And he is like, yeah, it got a little busy, so like there are refs that are underneath him, and some of those are Brian Kuh that we mentioned before, and then there's a couple of other people as well that probably, I think the chart showed like maybe 10 other guys, one of which suspiciously is a is a guy by the name of Billy Mitchell, which maybe that's a problem.
I wonder if that will come back and be a controversy at all, that he is the record holder and also is the one who gets to grade other people's records against him.
Suspicious.
I'm starting to think that Twin Galaxies doesn't really have it.
You think that this organization of nerds didn't really put to, it's not really official in any capacity? They don't have it together. Oh my goodness. Sometimes it's one way, sometimes it's another. Is it Billy? Is it Steve? We don't know who to root for. So
can I have about 2 minutes here to just go off on Brian really quick?
Yes,
Can you say his last name one more time for me?
Brian Kerr?
Brian Kuh. Maybe my least favorite human being that I've ever laid my eyes on. So just to give you I hate him. He's a little rat, all right? He's a little freaking rat. He is he likes to fashion himself as Billy Mitchell's second in command, and he has no problem as a grown man saying that that he is Billy Mitchell's second in command. He looks up to Billy, obviously, because Billy is just a god in his eyes of not only Donkey Kong but of retro video games. And throughout the documentary, he's constantly on the phone with Billy, giving him updates on what our hero Steve is up to. He's literally giving him play by play while he's watching Steve compete. He's like, yeah, he just passed 400,000 with one life. And he's trying to like psych Steve out, you know? He keeps saying, yeah, Steve's getting pretty close to the record. Be a shame if he broke under the pressure. Yeah, I think he's gonna crack. Oh, I just heard him pass another level, but I think the crack is coming soon. And then when Steve finally does, I'm jumping ahead a little here, but when Steve beats the record in person, after his submitted tape was, we should mention this, the tape that Steve originally sent in when his son was looking to get wiped, right? There was the record didn't end up counting because there is a villain in this story that we haven't really mentioned yet, Roy. Now, Roy and Billy have
Mr. Awesome?
You
mean?
Mr. Awesome. Mr. Awesome, who put out a tape on how to get chicks, and I have God, I wish I wrote the rest of this clip, but at some point he said, this is how, or no one ever got a gnarly piece of poo-tang being kind. As he's dressed as General Patton, doing a big speech in front of American flag. Now, I'm not sticking up for Roy in any way, shape, or form, but Roy got in touch with Steve. And at this point, Steve did not have a Donkey Kong arcade cabinet because his had broke. So Roy had offered to pay to get Steve a new one just so that Steve could beat Roy's arch nemesis, Billy. So when Steve sent in his record with the son looking for a wipe job, the record was not taken at face value because two men, including Brian Kerr, more or less broke into Steve's house to check his equipment. They didn't find anything wrong with the Donkey Kong equipment, but what they did find was that Roy had sent something to Steve, and just the connection between those two, even though they didn't find out anything wrong, caused Steve's record to be
that
null
for
and
me
void.
because like the documentary is fine up until this moment when the wife goes and so then they broke into my house, or he says it to his class. When Steve, and I was like, whoa, okay, this took a turn. What is happening here? And yeah, and I was like, okay, so like this is serious. And I think it's at this point where the documentary fully switches over to the Billy and Steve rivalry, because it's like, because prior to this, it's kind of setting up some other stuff. And I mentioned her earlier. Like, we also are introduced to this woman named Doris. And Doris is an 87-year-old woman who loves Q*bert. And Billy does a nice thing where he bought her a Q*bert machine, kind of like Mr. Awesome did for Steve. So she could train to become the #1 Q*bert player in the world. Which is crazy that, like, also Billy isn't the #1 Q*bert player in the world, because Billy seems to be the best at every video game ever. But allegedly, I don't know what I have. I'm not a journalist in any capacity.
But I have Wikipedia, just like the next guy.
Yeah. You better believe. This show runs on Wikipedia and false memories. Yeah, go ahead.
There was, and I'm sorry if I'm stepping on a Doris bit you wanted to bring up earlier, but maybe the funniest part of the documentary, we're getting towards the climax of Billy versus Steve, and Billy's dodging Steve, and everyone's starting to really get the tension starting to build. We get a clip of Doris playing her game, and then we get another clip of the Brian stalking Steve around. And then we just get a 2-second clip of Doris leaving the arcade and going into a bingo hall and being like, "F this."
Yeah. Well, in good news, in Doris news, because there's some sad news later, but in good Doris news, she did get the record. She became the number one Q*bert player. At this event, at one of the events they go in the film. So Doris is a world champion, or was a world champion, because I'm sure the title has probably been beaten by now. I haven't done any research on the Q*bert front, because that's not what the show is about. The show is about monkeys.
There's no monkeys in Q*bert, goddammit. We checked.
So they break into his house and they nullify his thing, saying, "Hey, your Donkey Kong machine could have been tampered with. But Twin Galaxies invites you, if you want to prove that you are the number one Donkey Kong guy, come on down to Fun Spot, New Hampshire." And because that is the mecca of video games, as we mentioned before. And you can prove it in front of a live crowd. And he goes, I guess, and his wife, Steve's wife, is not happy about that choice, but he packs up his stuff for a weekend and is like, I'm heading to Fun Spot, New Hampshire, and he's there for like 3 days. And he goes to Fun Spot, New Hampshire. Walter, Mr. Referee, goes there. We meet Brian here at Fun Spot. I think Mr. Awesome also goes to Fun Spot.
A little part that they don't really get into, they just kind of mentioned briefly, is that apparently Billy has a restraining order against Mr. Awesome. They didn't really delve too far into that, but
no, I think that'd be a little too this is a bit of a lighter documentary. I don't know if we have to say the stalking allegations. Steve Saunders also, I think, goes to Fun Spot as well. The his Billy's number 2. So he goes down there and he kind of they kind of treat it like it's this big thing, but again, it's just like a regular mini golf arcade room. It's nothing that spectacular. And it's at this point in the documentary where I was thinking to myself, boy, I hope they show more action of 30 to 40-year-old men sitting on stools in different locations, because boy, you're gonna see some hot action.
You might be asking yourself, do these men move a lot while they're playing the video? No, they stand perfectly still. But over these 3 days, I think it's actually day 1, Steve shows up and he's ready to... Yeah. Are we allowed to swear on this show? He's ready to... Steve's there for something to prove. He's got a chip on his shoulder. This is his 2.0 of his high school baseball championship when he was 18. This is the big time for him. It's his time to prove himself. So he gets there, and he doesn't introduce himself to anyone. He doesn't know anyone, and they all are very weary of Steve because they assume that he's a cheater. Steve sits down, and he goes ahead, and he goes to break the record. Steve gets there. He immediately starts kicking ass. All right? He gets to 600,000 points on one life. Does not die. And at this point, that little frickin' rat, Brian, starts calling. And he starts calling Billy, and he gives Billy the word, hey, this guy might be legit. And Billy's sitting there with the most little slimy smile, not worried about it. And every time Billy picks up the phone, he goes, yes, you've reached like the world champion hotline. Like, Billy's always ready with a little zinger, with a little something to put himself over. He's looking for the pop from the crowd, and he's not getting it from me, I'll tell you that. So the whole time we're getting interviews from Brian, and Brian is just, he wants nothing more than to see Steve fail. Because if Steve ends up beating Billy, then he beat oh my god, what's his name? He beat Brian's hero. That can't happen. So he's updating Billy, getting to this amount of points, yep. And then the whole thing with Donkey Kong and a lot of these old video games is there's something called a kill screen, where the data runs out, then the game can no longer produce a new level. So what happens is basically the game just ends itself. And this is seen as close enough to beating or as close you can get to beating the game. Under all this pressure, people watching him, Steve is getting close to the kill screen. Brian starts going around to the entire arcade, telling everyone, hey, there's a Donkey Kong kill stream about to happen over here. He goes, they follow, the documentary follows him around the entire arcade. I don't think one person acknowledged Brian.
No one. Well, he did draw a crowd, but no one wants, because they're in the middle of playing their own games, and they've put their hard-earned quarters and money into these games, and he's going around interrupting, being like, do you want to stop the $4 you just put in? And do you want to come see a guy die in Donkey Kong?
That is the equivalent, right? He's like, he's about to die if you want to come watch it.
The game's about to end if you want to see how it ends. Which literally how Donkey Kong ends, this kill screen, is that it loads up the level and then it just can't load it anymore, so it just kills Mario in like 3 seconds. So that's it. It's a very anticlimactic ending. It's not like the game crashes and shuts down. It's just Mario dies and then it's over.
And then right after, we get that bullshit rat Brian again. I'm sorry. I'm really against this guy. There's something that really ticked me off against him. He's giving Billy the final lowdown of what happened. And he's saying, no, there was a crowd. I didn't get a number on how many people were watching. And the implication there was that there was a lot of people watching. They cut to a clip. 7 people?
7,
maybe?
8. There's not a lot of room there, and there weren't a lot of people there to begin with because it's probably a weekday as well.
Yeah. Now, can I ask you a
question?
question?
For sure.
If you were going for a world record in one of these cabinet games, would you do better or worse with 8 middle-aged balding men?
Probably worse. I'd be scared.
That's what I thought.
I'm like, I don't know. And I get, like, I've been at, arcades before, and I've watched people, like, that are pros at, like, DDR and some other, people playing the shooting games and stuff. But, like, I guess if you're under this pressure, to be a world record holder, I think, people suddenly appearing, these sweaty white men kind of sitting behind you, I think that would put a little bit more pressure on me to not do well. But Brian, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you for this. But one thing that they don't talk about in the documentary, but for a fact is happening, is while Steve is sitting there going for the world record surrounded by these 8 guys, it smells crazy behind him. It smells like sweat, divorce, and BO.
Disappointment is what it smells like. But Brian, who I find, when we're first introduced to Brian, something you didn't mention is that he said he retired at the age of 30. Brian is 30 years old, retired, and all he wants to do is become the best at Donkey Kong. And it is really funny to me that the part of the reason I think he goes around to like try to promote, to psych Steve out is that he wanted to be the first person to get to the kill screen at Fun Spot. He's like, I haven't done it yet, so if he gets there, that would suck. So like, there's also the ulterior motive of like, I want to be the first one. We never see him play we do see him play Donkey Kong, and he dies pretty quickly. So he's not particularly
Yes.
good at it.
No, he got a third of what Steve got on his first life in 3 lives. He got a score of like 250,000 on 3 lives, while Steve got 600,000 on 1 life.
Which, to be fair, I could not do that. I couldn't. Yeah, it's fine. Donkey Kong is a hard game. I don't know if you've ever played it before, but I can make it to like level 3, maybe. Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard game. And then it doesn't matter. It doesn't. I'm not going to complain about this. Steve makes it to the end. He gets to the kill screen. He gets a high score of 985,600. So higher than Billy's score. So he's proven he can beat Billy, and he is the new world record player because he did it in front of a crowd on a legit machine. There's no questioning it. And they do like a little impromptu ceremony. And right after the ceremony, and they bring him into this room and they update the scores on the Twin Galaxies website, and it's like, you did it, Steve. And it's like, yeah, okay. Billy sends in a videotape. Now, prior to this, Billy had given an interview in his kitchen at one of his restaurants that he says that the only way you can truly compete as a player in video games are meant to be competed in person with a crowd. That's how you know that you are the best. Billy sends in a videotape. And while Steve is trying to now go for 1 million points on day 2, I think he's trying to go for 1 million points. Billy is also going for 1 million points on a pre-recorded videotape. And people are kind of like Walter, who I thought was now Steve's pal and friend, is not his pal, and is like promoting the Billy Mitchell show on a TV at Fun Spot. Now imagine you've flown all this way to New Hampshire to go to this dinky little arcade, and you beat the world record, and then someone wheels in one of those classroom TVs and presses play. I would be a little upset. As Steve is.
And
Steve
bam.
is like, this is kind of bullshit, to be honest with you.
Everything you work for is just gone. After Steve had worked so hard. The point where I went from disliking, and I'm sorry to keep banging this drum, the point that I went from disliking Brian to hating Brian is the point where they played this videotape of Billy's record in the middle of the arcade. Steve at the time is going for a world record. He finally dies, and he waltzes over to the TV, and he goes up to Brian and he says, "Hey, do you mind if I watch Billy's record?" Brian gets the biggest slimy smile on his face, and he goes, "No, you can't. Only one time offer. We watched this in the middle of the arcade with everyone watching, but you can't watch it. It was a one-time
But what
show."
is crazy is that later that night, they go to Brian's house. Cool place, by the way.
Sick trailer, Brian.
They're eating some pizza. A bunch of the not Steve, but a bunch of the gamers go to Brian's house, and they are watching Billy's tape again. Crazy.
Again.
I want to ask you a question. How old do you think Walter is at this point in the movie?
60.
Okay, so this was shot in 2006.
Uh-huh.
He is currently 76. So this was 20 years ago. He's 56 years old here. When they cut back to the 80s, he's like 30. And he looks
That's the craziest
same.
part. The same. He just has a mustache.
Anyway, side tangent over about Walter.
It's just so hilarious to see Brian and that big group of gamers just sitting in Brian's mobile home in the middle of New Hampshire, eating pizza. Like this mobile home that he's in probably has about I don't know. If we're gonna be nice, we'll call it 600 square feet. And he has an arcade system in there. He has a big. It's probably taken up like where a bathroom could.
Well, he's got priorities. He's retired at 30, so and he's on the move. It seems. Sorry, Brian. I don't mean to really. You're a real person. That's but also you're a rat. Anyway, so Walter, he decides that Billy's tape is legit. It's good. So Billy's new score on the tape is 1,047,200, and they post that online, and that has become known in the world of this competitive gaming scene as the King of Kong score. So this is like the high score. So this is the score to beat now, because Billy has taken it over again, which makes Steve cry, because he was like, that's just not fair.
Yeah.
He was like,
it does.
am here, Billy's not here, and I submitted a tape where I got over 1 million and they didn't count it, so why should his count? He's not here to prove himself, but it is what it is. And then we fade out, and then we cut to like 7 months later. Time has passed. Steve is busy with his students, and he hears some rumbling through the grapevine that perhaps there's a new opportunity to show that he could be the King of Kong. And, Guinness has decided that they are going to use Twin Galaxy's scoring system. They trust Twin Galaxy as a reputable source. Should they? I don't know. But they trust them as a reputable source, and they are going to use them in the upcoming 2007 or 2008 Guinness Book of World Records to put video game scores in the book for the first time. So to solidify that, they have decided that they're going to throw a tournament in Hollywood, Florida, where you can come play. I think it's called like the Dodge City Tournament or something like that. Come and play, and like if you want to try to beat the score, they can go and beat the score. So Steve is like, this is great. I'm going to pack up my family. We're going to go down to Florida. We'll have a nice little vacation in Hollywood, Florida. And guess what? Billy doesn't have an excuse this time to not come, because it's in his neighborhood.
He lives
town.
10 miles away.
And he decides that, it's going to be for the best. They go down to Florida. And his wife is like, yeah, I guess we're doing this. Sure. And that's where we get the scene in the car with Steve's daughter, where she's like, people ruin their lives. And we get to Florida, and we're there, and he goes to the first day of the competition, and Billy's not there. Everyone else is there, but Billy's not there. Billy's busy. Mm-hmm. And Walter's even like, Billy, I can give you 15 excuses. You give me 15 excuses. I give you 15 reasons why you should be here to prove yourself. Mm-hmm. And Walter and Billy are close. They're good pals. And even Walter's like, Billy's acting strange. That's BS. He doesn't cuss because he's got rule against it.
Well, and the amount of people that funnel information into Billy is one of the most incredible things, because Billy has truly made a whole bunch of just disciples around his aura, his presence. Like, people love Billy. They love Billy. Like, Steve goes into a restaurant in Hollywood, California, and one of Billy's disciples is sitting here talking to Billy. He's like, yeah, Billy, come on. Where are you? Why aren't you here? Oh, Steve just walked in. No, we didn't invite him. And just the amount of different paths of information that Billy has, from Brian to Robert to all these people. Billy is always on the phone getting information about what's happening, where everyone is at. but apparently he's too busy. Even though, according to his dad, his mom, and his wife, he just doesn't really show up to work sometimes. So it's clear at this point that Billy is dodging
Oh,
Steve.
absolutely. And this infuriated me. There's a scene where he drops off other Steve, liar Steve, Steve Sanders at the convention or whatever, and you see Billy in the car, and they interview Steve, and they're like, "Hey, is Billy coming?" And he was like, he's very busy. And they just kind of see Billy drive. You see him drive away.
And he's about to stop right in front of his friend so that he can pick him up. He sees the camera crew and drives around the corner out of sight so that his friend has to do this little jog to catch up with the car.
So Billy's a cool dude. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Again, I'm no journalist. I'm nervous. So anyway, so day one goes by. Steve Wiebe is he's trying to go for that record, but he doesn't crack it. Day two goes by. He goes to the restaurant. They're avoiding him, and he's like, "I know they're avoiding me." Steve's wife is pissed. She's just like, "He's a little loser. He can't even come and face you. Like, come on." Meanwhile, in the background, we see Doris for a second, and I'm like, "My queen, Doris." She's having the time of her life. Because I think she also lived in like Hollywood, Florida. She lived not far from Billy. And
well, the first competition that she went to at Fun Zone, Billy used her as a mule to get the video.
Oh,
tape.
to move the tape.
Right. He said, "You can lose your luggage."
And I think he tells Brian later, he was like, "You can lose your life, but don't lose my tape." He's also I want to point out, this also infuriated me. So when you get a game over screen in an old retro arcade game, you have to put in a 3-letter, they call it a tag. And usually it's your initials or something funny like poop or something like that, or P or something, something juvenile. And they were like, "Oh, what do you use, Billy?" And he was like, "Didn't you see? What do you think it is?" And then they're like, "We have zero idea what this is." And they were like, "I don't know, tie?" And he was like, "No, I was wearing it yesterday." And they were like, "Flag?" And he was like, "USA." Because I have a lot of international friends and I need to make sure I'm the best and we're the best. And I was like, very weird choice. Even to this day, so I've jumping ahead past the documentary, he is very much always worn some sort of American flag or Statue of Liberty or an American flag pocket square on his body in some capacity. Even at a defamation lawsuit I was watching earlier from 2023, he continues to wear the same outfits. Anyway, so day 2 goes by, nothing happens. Day 3, it's not looking great. Billy still seems like a coward, but Billy does show up with his wife, and they walk around, and he just kind of like fake glad hands people and like pretends to look. He looks like he's trying to go incognito. Like he's like pretending to look at video games like it's the first time he's seen the cabinets before. And he's like, "Oh yes, Pac-Man, wonderful, wonderful." And he's like, "Well, I see you, Steve." He acknowledges Steve for a moment, and he's like, "I need to talk to other people." And he like walks away as Steve is going to trying to break his record. And he goes around, and then he just leaves. He's there for 2 seconds and leaves. And that kind of leaves a sour taste in some people's mouths. Yeah, what are you gonna say?
Something that I was pretty proud of Steve of, and this is a tiny little moment, but Billy has been a thorn in his side, literally brought this man to tears, just because he won't show up, right? Billy's dodging him left and right. Mm-hmm. Billy finally shows up, and Steve plays it cool as a cucumber. He's playing Donkey Kong. He kind of like looks over his shoulder really quick, and he just goes, "Oh, hi, Billy." just the most nonchalant thing. And then Billy walks right past him and he says, "Well, there's some people I'd rather talk to more than others." It's like, ooh. Ew.
Yeah. He's great. He's a cool dude.
Keep in mind,
kind of like a Rocky-esque. Yeah, go ahead.
keep in mind that Steve has never done anything to Billy. They've never even had an interaction before.
No, he just...
We forgot to mention this earlier, too. When the two men basically broke into Steve's house to check his system, you know who was the guy who told them to break into Steve's house? It was fucking Billy! So Billy has no right to be giving Steve the cold shoulder and being like, what a scumbag. It's like, dude, what world do you live in that you are the hero?
I do love, prior to coming to Florida, he Steve mentions to his kids, not his kids, his students, that like he's like gonna go to Florida, and like he was like, yeah, and one of the tougher kids was like, "Hey, teacher, you gonna kick his ass?" And he was like, "Language." But yeah, I'm gonna kick his ass. Like, good for you, Steve. Good for you. But in a kind of Rocky-esque ending, Billy does show up and doesn't take him on. That's not the Rocky part. But Steve unfortunately, just, I don't know if it's the pressure or just whatever's going on, the randomness. It is a hard game, as we've mentioned. He doesn't break the record. I don't think he even gets to the kill screen. I think he just dies.
No, he got 885,000, I think.
Yeah, nothing to scoff at.
That's it? Come on.
Loser. And that's all you could do. And but Walter like gives him like shakes his hand and like gives a little speech to him and makes him feel pretty good. And they fly home and he's like, well, I have a lovely family and it's been nice, and he kind of takes it in stride. And then we cut to a few months later and they're like, well, Billy maintains the high score that was until one night Steve, on another taped recording, demolishes Billy's record and had become the new King of Kong. And he did that with Derek at his side, also playing Game Boy.
And I'm so glad, obviously, that Steve ended up getting the record. But to watch a whole documentary and have the most pivotal point happen in text at the end, it's a kick in the balls.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I get it. They probably were like, well, this is over. And this rivalry continued well past this documentary premiering. So when the documentary came out, well, whatever. We wrapped it up. It's over. That's the end of the story. But when the documentary
it only
came
took
out,
us an hour and 20 minutes. It took us as long as the documentary.
It took us the length of the movie. And we have more to talk about.
You guys could have just gone and watched it.
Yeah. Sorry. It'd be a little bit shorter, but not much. But Billy and Steve like continue the rivalry. So Steve would win one, and then Billy would then apparently up it again. And I think it got to the point where Billy became the head person. Apparently, in the behind the scenes IMDb trivia that I found, they omitted like a third guy that was also like on the leaderboards. But he just wasn't. That's Hank Chen, I think is his name. He, as of 2011, he holds the record on Donkey Kong. So good for him. So neither of them have it.
That's
anymore,
all you get.
seems.
That's all you get.
But Steve doesn't care. It looks like. But Steve would go on to be like a good sport about this. He was a very big promoter of the movie. So like when the movie would do small premieres at certain film festivals or premiere in certain locations, he would attempt to break the record again. So they would ship out a Donkey Kong arcade machine, and he would just do it in the lobby of like the Alamo Draft House. So he was like a part of it, and he was like, well, it's his movie. It doesn't paint him in a bad light. Billy, on the other hand, not a big fan of this movie. Not a big fan of people in general that say nasty things about him, allegedly, which I have to continue to say. Because Billy has gone on to sue a lot of folks. Let's just talk about what happened to Billy. Billy post this many years later, about 2018, I want to say. I'm going to just pull up the Wikipedia page because, boy, oh boy, 2017, a YouTuber or a moderator on the Donkey Kong forum named Jeremy Young posted a video about how Mitchell had played both Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. that day, breaking 2 new world records, but using the same cabinet for it, with Childs having swapped out the circuit board in between runs. The video did not show the complete world record runs, and Young believed that there might have been issues with the board swap. Mitchell and Childs affirmed that some parts of the board switching were staged, but that the part of the recording was made well after the records have been set for legitimate hardware. So that's problem number 1. So he switched boards in the middle of a competition. So he was using a different board than other people were, meaning that he probably modded it in some capacity.
Yeah.
So then in 2018, there was a YouTuber who posted a video, and actually on a forum, that maybe he was using a theme called MAME. So MAME is an emulation software that can boot up the game or any kind of old arcade game. And it was something that was available back in 2006 where maybe it's too expensive to have the original cabinet, so you can load a bunch of games onto one card and you can kind of just use the one cabinet to play Donkey Kong and Galaga and Pac-Man, so you didn't have to have 10 separate arcade cabinets. Sounds reasonable. But with the emulation software, it does apparently change things a little bit, and you can score things a little bit differently, and you could also go into the software and edit it. Not said that Billy did do that, just suspicious. I was watching a 4-hour YouTube documentary post this, and that's where you get into him doing his defamation suits and use all this footage they have of him post King of Kong, where he's trying to defend himself. And the whole video is kind of breaking. I didn't get to finish it because it is 4 hours long, but it's breaking down basically how the technology works. Yeah, it is 4 times the length of this movie.
I said this earlier. Someone made "They're Gone with the Wind," and it's about Billy Mitchell being a dirty lying cheater.
Yeah. And why he's a dirty lying cheater, and the science behind how he's allegedly a lying cheater.
Well, I think
now I keep saying allegedly because
it's just the documentary and the director and the editor were just so good at putting these quotes early in the movie that, you know, once you kind of learn about Billy's dodgy history, just make it so much better. Like in the beginning, we have someone talking about Billy playing Donkey Kong, and they said, if you were to hack the machine and make it play itself, it wouldn't be able to be that good. Hypothetically, with the emulator, that's exactly what Billy could have done.
In theory, it is a possibility of something that could have happened. Now, there's been a lot of lawsuits about this. Billy has gone on and sued the individuals who's claimed he was using an emulator. And that's why we have to be very careful. Not that this is a very highly listened to and watched podcast in any capacity, but just in case Billy is out there, I want to say this is all just stuff that had been reported. It is not the express opinion, or everything is an opinion and not necessarily fact. I don't know. Again, I am not a journalist. This is done for funny comedy purposes. Anyway, so Billy had gone on to sue several people. One of the guys named was... this is kind of sad. In 2020, Mitchell filed a lawsuit against YouTuber Ben Smith over videos where Smith claimed that he had cheated in light of the high score disputes. The lawsuit was later settled, requiring Smith to remove the videos relating to Mitchell and refrain from discussing him further, and did not include any exchange of money. Smith later died in December of 2020 by suicide. So, so in a bit of a bummer there. And then from May to July of 2021, another YouTuber posted a video in which, according to Mitchell, they claimed that Mitchell's lawsuit was a significant factor in Mr. Smith, which was Apollo legend, taking his own life, and wrongly alleged that Smith had paid a large sum of money to a Mitchell settlement. He later posted a reaction video in 2021. In 2021, Mitchell sued Carl Jobst for the defamation due to his videos on Mitchell's lawsuit against Ben Smith, as the videos were accusing Mitchell of cheating. So it kind of goes back and forth for a long time. So he's gone on to sue people, and it's caused some consequences for some folks. But on a bit of a funnier note, have you ever seen a little show called Regular Show on Cartoon Network? Okay.
Yes, I have.
So in that show, there are a couple of episodes. There's one episode in particular that it's kind of mocking this King of Kong documentary called High Score. And in that, there is a long-haired, bearded gentleman who is just a face, who grows arms and legs. And his name is, I believe it's like Gareth Bobby Ferguson or something like that. And he is, Billy sees this and says, "Hey, that's me. They're making fun of me." Sues Cartoon Network.
Wow.
And
he's got a quick trigger.
Because they're like, that is, yeah, he's like, "That's not me. That's actually not you." And Gareth Bobby Ferguson, potentially no relation to Billy Mitchell, video game wizard, would go on to be one of the recurring villains on Regular Show throughout its run.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then one other piece of bummer news is at the very end of the documentary, I don't know if you saw, unfortunately, my gal Doris did pass away in 2006 post the movie. But she was the Q*bert champion, so you can never take that away from her. At one point, she was the Q*bert champion. Again, I don't know who is now, but it will, in my heart, it will always be Doris, because who's playing Q*bert nowadays? Come on.
Exactly. I had never heard of that game before this documentary.
Do you know what happens? Do you know how Q*bert works? What Q*bert's about?
I truly have no idea. All I know is that there's not monkeys in it, or we would be talking
Q*bert,
about
this
it
is
more.
more Q*bert talk than I thought. Q*bert is this little orange dude, and your job is to jump on different boxes, and you have to like complete a grid basically while dodging the particular enemies.
So it's doodle
kind
jump.
of, yeah. It's kind of doodle jump, but it's like flat. It's fun. I want to get to my favorite segment of the show, which is what's my dad think? So I'm going to call my dad right now, and we're going to see what he has to say about King of Kong. And if you have any questions for him, feel free.
Hello.
Hey, Dad. You're on the podcast. I just wanted to know what your thoughts about King of Kong Fistful of Quarters might be.
Oh, well, hello, Michael.
And my buddy Matt is here with me.
Oh,
How's it going,
Matt.
Mr. De Palma? I cannot wait to hear your
Thanks,
thoughts.
buddy Matt. What are my thoughts on the movie?
Yes.
Well, you gave me full disclosure. You gave me a heads up and said that you might be working on this. So I went on YouTube and watched it this morning, and well, I guess I could have spent that 90 minutes doing something else. But listen, I don't know if it's a real documentary, if it wasn't a documentary. I mean, I followed up a little bit on it afterwards.
I mean, it's a real documentary. It's a real movie. It exists.
Okay. But there was some take on it that said that the information supplied was false or fake or misleading.
And who said that information? Who was saying it was false?
Who was what was the out?
No. Who said that they were portrayed poorly?
The guy said Billy.
Billy. Of course it was Billy.
Billy. So anyway, listen, I don't. I mean, I remember. I remember when Donkey Kong came out. So I was in college in Miami, and I remember that we used to go out. There were some arcades up in Hollywood, Florida, and we used to go up there and try to spend some time up there and break out. And then those were the games when they first came out. It was Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, I think, came a little later, but Donkey Kong. What was the other one? What's the one with the spaceships that shoot everything?
Space Invaders?
No,
Galaga?
that was first. Galaga, right? Yeah. Those were the ones. So, I spent a lot of quarters on those machines, too. But my take on the documentary was in the beginning. It started out okay, then it was slow. Then, you feel for is his name Steve Wiebe?
Steve Wiebe. Wiebe, yes.
Yes. Don't call him Weeb. It's Wiebe. Steve Wiebe. And the guy, Billy.
Yeah.
So Billy starts out, right, that he seems to be in the beginning of the documentary the good guy. And then by the end of the movie, obviously he's the bad guy. He's the villain. Now,
not to interrupt you real quick, Dad, but you did say that you used to play Donkey Kong in the arcades of Hollywood, Florida. Just so happens that Billy Mitchell is from Hollywood, Florida.
Yeah, but I think I'm a little older than Billy Mitchell. But, my first year of college was 1979, 1980. So
he was and that was right around when he was doing that photo shoot with the if you remember.
Oh, was that but was that wasn't taking place? I thought that was in Iowa.
It was in Iowa, yes. No, but he would have been, playing Miss Pac-Man. I think he was Pac-Man champion at the time in the arcades of Hollywood, Florida. So you could have seen a pimply faced Billy Mitchell.
I could have, but my back would have been turned to him because I was too engaged in losing my money. I don't think I got it. I don't think. Listen, I am not the kind of guy who can study the patterns and things like that. So I was there just to have fun. If you get past one level, it's because you did it right, and then you just keep trying to go on and on and on. I don't even think I got past level 3 in Donkey Kong. So, but that's But this right. The take on the story is that will Billy ever actually physically come face to face with Steve, right? So
yeah,
and that never took place. I don't think did it ever take place?
He meets him very briefly while he's playing at the very end.
Oh no, that was to put pressure on him so he didn't break the record.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
So,
but they don't actually have a conversation. Really.
Right, but beyond the movie, do you guys know? Did he ever?
It seems like they probably have met before.
Not met. I mean, did they ever play?
No,
the game?
no. Billy has never in person, as far as I could tell from the research, Billy has never in person competed live since the that photo shoot in the 80s.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So my my take on this whole thing is, Mike, I know you're doing these podcasts now for a little bit, and this is reaching into the barrel, right?
It's not reaching.
You do the barrel of monkeys, Mike. You're at the bottom of the barrel for this one. So, but this, and that's hey, there you go. There's another podcast for you.
Yeah.
Barrel of monkeys.
All right.
Toy Story.
Well, yes. I'm going to do Toy Story later this year.
Yeah, that was a Toy Story. Anyway, what questions do you have for me?
Do you have a question for him, Matt?
I want to hear what
Matt.
you think about all. How you doing?
I don't hear Matt.
I would love to hear what you think about just how seriously these people took Donkey Kong.
WWE.
No. It's still real to me, damn it.
This was the WWE of Nerdville. I was actually laughing. I thought it was hysterical to watch all these people in the arcade hover around this poor guy and try to put pressure on him because the other guy was on the phone with him. Hey, you want to see what was it? The kill board? Kill board. Hey, come on over. We're about to see the kill board. It's like, that poor guy putting a lot of pressure on him.
And then no one's phoned him. And then no one. They're all ignoring him.
Well, there was that little group behind him, but I thought you kind of feel bad for the guy Steve, and in the picture. And I was saying that just looking at it and just obviously he's a school teacher from the state of Washington, and he traveled all that way to Florida. That was right. That was for the Guinness one, the Guinness record.
Yeah.
And he traveled all that way, and he took his family. And you could tell that. And this was in what year was it? 2000.
2006.
Okay, so 2006. They had some really nice places in Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood, and wherever he stayed along the beach. There was they had some nice resorts and nice hotels. This poor guy was staying in a motel, So obviously it meant the world to him to come here, to come to the East Coast to try to win whatever it was, the top score. So. But have I ever seen something like this before? Only thing I can compare it to is the fans of the WWE.
But this is more sinister, This was dirtier than the WWE.
This was dirtier than watching the wrestling.
Because at least with wrestling, at the end of the day, they're characters. These are real people.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
These are pure real people.
And this is really obviously it looks like this is their life. To have your own Donkey Kong arcade machine in your garage or in your kitchen or your living room, so incredible, right? So. But the follow-up, right, the question is, did this guy, did he cheat, right? Did he cheat?
I was telling Matt before, there was a 4-hour YouTube documentary about if he cheated. And we're not saying that he did because of all the allegedly. But from my personal opinion, from the evidence that was presented, I would believe he did cheat. Yes, he did cheat. I don't like him.
Well, if he cheated or not, my opinion is who cares? So this documentary was this YouTube documentary. People wrote dissertations, theses about it, and how Donkey Kong and the emulation works, and how VHS machines record. It's a whole thing, and how he cheated. Well, it's interesting, right? I mean, you can't compare like your video games of today, right, to those video games back then, because it's just totally different world. Those were arcade games. You got the games that you play on your Xbox and everything else, totally different. I don't know. I just, if you ask me that question that you ask everybody at the end of your episodes, monkey see, monkey don't.
Oh, so don't watch this movie. Don't.
This would be in my don't category. I did it because I was interested in what you were talking about. And I was like, oh man, those are 90 minutes that I can't get back. So.
You did it for the love of the game, literally.
I did it for the love of the game. Maybe there was a bit of footage of me in one of the arcades.
All right. Well,
Matt, I'm not a nerd, Matt. I'm not. Okay.
what are you talking about? You'll have Star Wars and Planet of the Apes and Star Trek and Harry Potter.
If I like Planet of the Apes, the originals. that makes me okay, Mike.
Anyway, well, thank you.
I have 3 other sons. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
All right, I'll let you guys finish up. But nice to meet you, Matt.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, we'll talk later. Thank you. Take care, guys.
Bye, Dad. So, I want to ask the question, what do we think about the monkey of this movie? Donkey Kong?
I do love that. The pixelated little Donkey Kong. It's classic. That's where we get Donkey Kong from. You know, it's where we get Donkey Kong Country from. Super Smash Bros. I love that they had mentioned. Apparently, that's not Princess Peach. They called her Fei Mei from like the first Donkey Kong movie. They called one of the minions called her that.
Her name is actually Pauline.
Oh, so everyone was wrong. Okay. But
Yeah.
it's he was there, and I enjoyed seeing him.
I was gonna say, what is this movie without the monkey in it? But they would be Pac-Man. We would just be watching a Pac-Man tournament, I guess. Steve would have nothing. Poor guy. That brings me to my last question: Is this a monkey see, monkey do, or a monkey see, monkey don't?
This is a monkey see, monkey do for me, because not only do you get a little bit of video game history, which I'm a sucker for, you just get to see these people really living their life surrounding around this. And I also want to point out too that like the director does a great job of throwing in these tiny little moments too that like takes you out of the world of Donkey Kong for a second and shows you like these are real people. Like there's a great little clip of like Walter running after a plastic bag that he tried to put into the trash and the wind caught it, which was just like it was just a great little character moment. There was also a moment where Steve's friend Mike is in the middle of giving the little praise to Steve that he does do, and he just starts lighting up a cigarette during the interview. And it's just all these tiny little things that they didn't cut out that they could have kept.
Oh yeah.
They could have kept this whole self-serious thing going on the whole time, but it's like, no, we know. There is an air of self-awareness in the documentary that I really do appreciate, and it's a fun watch. It's quick. It's it's 80 minutes. You're in and out. It's on YouTube for free.
It's a monkey see, monkey do for me. Similar reasons. It's so fun, and I do love video game history. It's fascinating, and they're all just such real, quirky characters, and you kind of don't get stuff like this. Like, it kind of reminded me of Tiger King, but like no one's actually going to get hurt from this, You
get the fun characters with it being a little more low stakes. It's nice to watch a documentary that isn't about murder.
Yeah.
They exist, and it's fun to watch them.
All right. Well, I know we got to wrap this up. You got to get to work. If you have any Brian hate mail or any ideas of upcoming episodes, you could send them over my way at cinemonkeypod@gmail.com. You could also follow me on Instagram at cinemonkeypod. And then you could also follow me at Mike the Palm Tree. Yeah, I want to thank Dylan for editing the episode. I want to thank Elias for our logo. I want to thank you all for listening. If you are listening on YouTube, give us a subscribe, like, all that stuff. If you are on a podcatcher like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. Help us boost the algorithm in some capacity. And I think that's everything. Matt, how should we end the show?
The kill score